The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you so you don't have to, and we try to do the same here on this show every single day. And, man, we have an exciting one for you today. We have a world premiere on Running Point. We are starting a new segment here on Running Point. Every Wednesday, we're going to continue our trend of having an expert on in one of the sports that we feel like is undercovered in the area, and we're going to do our best to elevate it. So we are debuting a new series on Running Point, and it will last throughout the rest of the season, and it is Running Wednesdays with head coach of the Boardman girls track team, Rick Seipert. So happy to premiere this series and premiere this segment. It's going to be a fun one. This set does have to be pre-recorded, so we are going to be playing those segments on Wednesdays. Coach Seipert is also a teacher, so obviously maybe he has some other things to do. He has to mold young minds in the 1 o'clock hour. So we are going to premiere that and this week, and it will always be pre-recorded and played. So if you see me in different clothes, I didn't do a 30-second wardrobe change. But this is going to be fun. Can't wait. We're going to kick it off this week with episode 1, and I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's roll into it. Episode 1 of Running Wednesdays with Rick Seipert. Here you go. And hello, everybody. Welcome to Running Wednesdays, the world premiere of our running show, our track and field show that'll be here on every Wednesday from 1 to 2. Well, 1 to 1:30 for running, but every Wednesday on Running Point 1 to 2 with Rick Seipert, our running guru. We are bringing him aboard, and he is the head coach of the Boardman Spartans track team, but we know that he has knowledge of just about every runner that is in the YSN family from far and abroad. So Rick is going to be with us all track season long. We are so excited to expand our track coverage. We have Big Dogs of the Valley with track and field having its debut, and now we're debuting a weekly segment on Running Point. Rick, thank you so much for hopping on this journey with us and elevating our coverage of track and field here at YSN.
Hey, thank you very much. This is the Valley is really rich in the quality of our track athletes. So I'm really excited to have you guys highlight all of the good track athletes in the area. We've had state champions in cross country. Those distance runners are going to be carrying over here into this track season. We have great throwers, great sprinters, and from divisions 1, 2, and 3 for track and field.
So this whole segment every week, we're going to just be recapping the week that was. We're going to be bringing track runners and field throwers on every week as well. And then we will obviously set you up for the week that is. So if you watch Wrestling Wednesdays during the winter, it's going to be the same format as that. But we're going to start with kind of an introduction to Coach over here. We want to talk to you about your journey and what got you into track, and then obviously transition that into Boardman this year and what they're doing so well, and an outlook on your team.
Anthony, I was very fortunate growing up. I always had really good coaches. I'm a Hubbard graduate, so I played football under Jeff Bayek over there. And even from like young ages, I was just blessed to have good people taking care of me. My little league baseball coaches were from the Brazil family. So if you're a local basketball person, Jeff Brazil was one of like college student Jeff Brazil was one of my little league baseball coaches. And then from there, I had like Coach Bayek. Jack Arvin was one of my coaches. I mean, he was such a big like titan of the game that they named the MVCA All-Star football game after him. Rod Griedemeyer, and then after high school, I had such a good experience. Like I decided to pay tribute to some of the people that got me to where I was. So I became a teacher, and then I pursued coaching. Like I wanted to be a high school football coach more than anything in the world. And here I am 25 years later as a head girls track coach. So dreams change as time goes on. But, I got into coaching here at Boardman. Denise Gorski was the head girls coach, and Dave Pavlansky, he was retiring, and they needed a new sprint coach. Denise gave me the opportunity, and I just took the ground. Like I took the reins from there, and hit the ground running, no pun intended. And then Denise decided to retire and become our athletic director, and she asked me to be the successor to her as the head coach here. And pretty much everywhere I went, Denise coached here for 33 years. So everywhere I went, clinics, big meets, small meets, everybody I encountered said, Sipe, you have big shoes to fill with Denise retiring here. You better not mess anything up. So every time I see Denise now, I tell her, I hope I didn't mess anything up for her, and I hope I'm making her proud as her successor here at Boardman. And here we are 10 years later. You and I are discussing some local track and field here on YSN. So I'm excited to have this opportunity to highlight everybody in the area in this wonderful sport here.
You wanted to be a football coach. Now you get to coach the sport that football uses as punishment. So
I know.
it's all good.
Well, I know it kind of drives me crazy now that I'm like really ingrained into the sport. Like people say, like your sport is ours, or our sport is your sport's punishment, but it's not just running. Like I talk to adults kids, anybody. Like, what do you guys do? Just run? It's a lot more than just running at practices. We actually train. So there's a big difference between training and running. There's all kinds of science that's involved with it. And I don't want to bore you. I already taught bio all day today, so I'll spare everybody the science part of it.
That is definitely one of the things that we're going to unpack. If fans of the show watch Wrestling Wednesday, we dive into all the silly questions or the misnomers about the sport that people have, because obviously, just like track and field, wrestling is one of those under the bedrock sports that a lot of the outside people, if you're not in it, you don't know a lot about it. So we're going to spend this whole season kind of diving into a lot of those misnomers and kind of misconceptions about the sport. And that's one right off the jump, that it's not just, hey, go out there and run, because obviously they're athletes. You're not just running.
Right. There's all kinds of different energy systems to train. I mean, I'm really fortunate here at Boardman. Dave Pavlansky is a longtime track coach, a sprint guru, if you will. He works with the USATF, the United States Track and Field Association. He's actually a coach of coaches. And then the two of us work together hand in hand to set up the Spartan Invitational in the fall every year. So we drive around all summer setting up the course and laying everything out for that big cross country meet. And it always starts in June with, hey, Sipe, how'd your season go? What went well? What didn't go so well? And then the two of us just talk science about the sport, and we kind of make something good into something even better every year. So I'm really blessed to have a mentor like that in my life. So, everybody needs somebody like that. And Dave's been like the man for me. I appreciate everything he does. And honestly, I don't think we'd have some of the success that we have without him leading me through the way. So, there you go, Pav. That one's for you.
Then again, our sport is your sport's punishment always makes a nice t-shirt. So,
absolutely.
Very
cliche. And it's, like I said, it's not just running. There's
right.
A lot of actual training that goes into it. So
when you think of Boardman this year, I want you to take time to talk about your runners, your team. I want to give you the chance that we'll have like a little mini coach's corner, if you will, about Boardman runners this year and what they're doing so well and what you see out of the Boardman track team.
Well, right out of the gate, we we start off with 3 of the better distance runners in the entire area. We have Brock Ferris on the boys' side and David Daltorio as well on the boys' side. They were both all Ohioans during cross country season. Gabby Vanetti is one of our better distance runners, again, in the area. She made Division I cross country state this year, and she was one of the first Boardman girls to make it in like several years here. Reagan Berkey made it back in 2020, I believe. But before the 2 of them, it went over a decade without getting a girl down to Columbus for state cross country. We also have Sarah Barrow. She's a thrower. She's one of the top throwers returning in the entire state this year. So we definitely have some like premier track and field athletes on our boys and girls teams. I think both teams are pretty balanced as well as pretty young. So we're cutting a lot of teeth every single time we go out there to compete. We have a lot of kids that are learning the sport, and then we have some crafty veterans that are coming back that were multiple year regional qualifiers. Kenzie Riccatelli, who a lot of you know from basketball. She was a district champion in the 400 before. We have her back this year. Sarah Blaska, who's part of our 4x2. Aiden Berg, who's part of our boys 4x2 and one of our better sprinters as well. And then we also do a good job. Coach Phillips and I work the halls and we try to get kids out. So, hey, we talk to soccer players, we talk to swimmers, basketball players, anybody we can get out, because there's no such thing as a shortage of athletes, especially on a track and field team. So we're going to try to apply all these things to this season and see what happens. Like I said, there's a lot of really good competition in the area. A lot of premier teams as well. So I'm expecting some of these local teams to make some noise when the postseason hits here.
When you're selling track and field in the hall, what are some of your selling points? What are some things you're trying to say to get these kids interested to come be on the track and field team?
Well, I mean, it's a great sport, and I stress the emphasis on everything I talk about with kids when I'm trying to recruit them to the team from the hallway is that it's good training. Some of the paramounts of our entire program is the weight room. So if you're a premier soccer player or trying to be a better soccer player, we'll make you bigger, faster, and stronger, not just as a runner, but like the physicality of the sport. You'll get better in the weight room, and you'll be more durable as your seasons go on. In a lot of cases too, we relay teams. I mean, if you're missing one person, saying that, hey, Anthony, you could be the missing link for a state bound 4x4 team. That gets a lot of kids excited. And really, I mean, as long as the product is good on a year-to-year basis, and I really do think that we do a good job over here at Boardman. We have a really good coaching staff from top to bottom, and we usually get every drop out of everything that we squeeze here. So, and, that gets kids excited to come do the sport and be a part of something big here.
All right, we have plenty of results that have already come in where we're not at the very start of the track season. We've had results come in for a couple of weeks now. So I want you to recap, the couple of weeks of results and some of the kids that are really starting off this track season really well and opening eyes around the Ysn family.
Well, the first couple of weeks of the season got off to a slow start based on weather. Like Austintown always holds that early bird invitational, and that brings in some premier competition, but unfortunately got canceled this year. I think it was like 15 degrees when we woke up that day. So it's not really sprinting weather. So that got canceled. And then the following Tuesday got canceled as well. So in the local area, it kind of started with the Cope Invitational, and that's over at Salem. Salem has a premier track and field program. Their girls I think that's the best girls team in the entire area by a lot. They won that meet, and then I believe Wadsworth was the boys champion at that meet. And then from there, we came back with the East Palestine Invitational. That's down there. That's down in your area there with the Ward Invitational. The Lowville boys put on a show there, and they actually put a pretty good showing over at the Glen Oak Invitational this past weekend. Their sprints are fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing them this weekend at the Mahoney County meet. And then, like I said, Austintown always does a good job with all the meets that they're in. But, I mean, every team in the entire area has something special to bring to the table. There's a lot going on this week as well. Like I said, on Saturday is the Mahoney County Championship. So you're going to get to feature Canfield, Boardman, Poland, everybody in the entire high division for the county. And then there's going to be a couple good matchups in the lower divisions as well, because the Mahoney County Championship's divided into big schools and small schools. So there's going to be a couple battles in both divisions this weekend. The Lakeview Invitational is also this weekend, and that's shaping up to be a pretty premier sprint meet over there. You're going to see Liberty versus Lakeview versus Streetsboro, and who else is over there? Niles is there as well this weekend. So I mean, you're going to see a lot of good action across the valley this weekend coming up here.
When you talk Lowville, I mean Michael Balone. I've been able to see some of his results so far. What a great athlete, and what a great, we know him so well from the football field and what he did as a quarterback this year. But he is shining so bright on the track right now.
Absolutely. He put on a clinic over there at the Glen Oak Invitational. That's like one of the first premier meets in Northeast Ohio every year. And you're drawing in teams from Columbus, Cleveland, Akron, Canton, and then the Youngstown area for that meet. So you're talking about Michael going up against some of the big D1 competition. You're seeing Medina, Glen Oak. Who else was down there this past weekend? Strongsville. I mean, we're talking like elite competition in the area, in the entire Northeast Ohio. And the Lowville boys won the meet. So I think that's like the first thing that jumps off the page at me this year is how good that Lowville boys team is doing right now. But you're right with Michael. Last I checked, he was top 5 he was a part of 5 events that were top 5 in Division 3. So the entire state, he's one of the premier athletes. He was one of the leaders in both hurdle events, long jump, the open 400, and then their 4x2 and 4x4 are both top 3 in the entire state in Division 3. I think their 4x4 is number 4 of all divisions in the entire state right now. So Michael's doing a fantastic job over there. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing him compete this weekend at the county meet.
And Lowville fits into this reality that small schools are really performing very well in track this year. I mean, if you look at the big dog representatives so far on the boys' side specifically, Warren JFK, Springfield, Jackson Milton United, Pymatuning Valley, those are all smaller schools in there, with East Liverpool a little bit bigger than all of those. But small school track programs really doing well this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Davis out of Brookfield. He's one of the top 200 runners in Division 3 as well. So you're right. There are a lot of small schools that are representing very well. I always say that the big 3 in distance running as well. We've got Geis from Heartland Christian. She was the cross country state champion. Sophia Yawn from Lowville. She always does a fantastic job. And then Kaylee Richards out of Maplewood. So 3 high quality distance runners are at small schools as well. And that's one nice thing about track. To an extent, it doesn't matter how big or small your school is. If you have dudes, or dudettes, I should say, you can compete with just about anybody. I mean, eventually that size does take over. I mean, it just increases the quality of your training groups and just makes your everyday practices a bit more competitive. But there's no, like I said, Lowville boys winning Glen Oak. That's insane that those guys did that. So size really doesn't matter in some cases.
And then when you look,
if you go back several years here, Chad Zallo and Jacob Coates, they won the state championship for D3, a 2-man wrecking crew. So well, I mean that's something we could probably say that to Michael if we get him on here, that it's a possibility that those guys should be thinking about getting a state championship for Lowville down there.
When you think Chad Zallo, I mean, what he was able to do after high school, what he did at YSU, and what he did just in the track world nationally, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a blessing that he stayed at YSU and didn't jump ship, but he represented the Valley well. Mm-hmm. And he took care of a lot of business for himself there at Youngstown State.
Especially because he could have easily jumped ship. I mean, I don't think there was a program in the country that wouldn't have said, "Hey, we want come on to our team," with what he was doing. So that's very impressive and always great to talk about Chad Zallo. We went over the schools represented in the Big Dogs boys side. The girls side, Salem represent Niles, Boardman. You got one, Sarah Barrow the MVP of that first meet. So
Yeah.
she gets on it. Springfield, Ava Vecchione, someone that we know from basketball really well. Cardinal Mooney gets San Martino on. Crestview has Bailey Warner, and then Poland with Katie Biggs. And no better name for an athlete than Biggs, right?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you okay. So when you look at those nominees on the girls' side, of course, probably a lot of girls that you've run into in your journeys. But what can you tell us about some of these names?
All right, Coach. Sorry, I lost you there.
Okay. So I want to talk about these big dog nominee names and you know how much you're able to talk about some of these names on the girls' side. Of course, you know Sarah Barrow pretty well, I'd say. She's
Yes.
nominated for Big Dog of the Valley. Then you have Niles, Micaiah Simpson. You have Eva Vecchione from Springfield, San Martino from Mooney. From Crestview, you have Bailey Warner, and then Poland's Katie Biggs rounds out the lineup for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley this year. When you look at those names, I mean, what can you say about some of them?
Well, Simpson from Niles, she's a fantastic sprinter. She's one of the top girls in D2 in the 100 and the 200 there. So you should be seeing her be well represented in the postseason. We got to see her 2 weeks ago at the Ward Invitational, and she put on a show down there. Vecchione, the girl from Springfield, their sprints are good every single year. I'm actually excited to see them go this weekend. I know there's been some years where the Springfield team, they've been so deep with their numbers that they would put it on us easily with how good they were with some of their sprint and distance events there. Mooney, they're the returning district champions, so they're always going to have good product out there. She's a hurdler, I believe, and like I said, we're going to have a taste of that this weekend at the county meet. Poland as well, they're always putting out a good product. I know they're very well coached over there. And Crestview, they're like, again, their sprints are fantastic. They always have good athletes for us to compete with when we see them on the track.
Talk a little bit about Sarah Barrow. Obviously, you get the opportunity to gas up one of your athletes who's also on Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley nominee. What is working so well for her, and what gives her the opportunity to have so much success?
Well, Sarah's still learning the throwing events here. Her freshman year, we didn't really know what to do with her as the season was going on. She tried hurdling, high jumping, long jumping, and then throwing is a sport where if you have levers, you're going to be doing some good things. So what ended up happening was I said, well, you have levers, you're pretty athletic. Why don't you try throwing disc? And after a couple of weeks, Sarah threw a disc 115 feet, and she set our freshman record for the discus event. So it kind of worked out pretty good for her there. And then as she started to develop here, shot put came into it, and she ended up throwing 39 feet 4 inches last year. I mean, she's just knocking these things down as she gets better and better at the sport. And this is coming off a basketball season where every time I saw her in the hallways, I was like, Sarah, you are an absolute menace in the paint. Like, nobody wanted anything to do with her. She's strong, she's physical, she's tough. I mean, and she has this desire to win, man. I mean, it's amazing just watching her compete out there. I'm so blessed to have her as one of my girls here. But I mean, she does it all. She runs cross country. She plays soccer. She's a menace in the paint at basketball, and she's throwing bombs out there for shot put and discus. I mean, like I said, it's just a blessing to have her as one of ours here at Boardman.
Second leading scorer on that basketball team,
She was.
Averaging double figures when the season ended. For people that aren't in the track world that are watching, When you say that she had levers, go into what that means for people, and when someone has levers and able to use that to succeed, what exactly you mean by that?
I mean, she's long arms, long legs. She's like a big, strong girl in those cases. So the more torque and force you can put on a discus with that spin, I mean, you're really going to let it rip. So I mean, there's things you just can't coach kids to be, and coaching a kid to be tall or coaching a kid to have long levers, it just doesn't work that way. So she's just like physically gifted in that sense. And Coach Williams and Coach Pelini, our throws coach here, does do such a fantastic job with her, just helping her to learn how to use those levers. And on top of all of it, Sarah's like an astronaut. She's so smart. So teaching the science of the sport to her as they're helping her develop in the weight room. I mean, it's just going hand in hand, and she's really letting it rip consistently this season so far.
I just love that a couple of weeks as a freshman, she's just like, you know what? I'm gonna pick it up and break some records right now. That's just such a boss move.
It is. And like I said, if you watch her play all of her sports, it all just comes together perfectly for track and field for her.
When you talk about the mental aspects of track and field as a coach, obviously you coach a lot of athletes. What do you do mentally? We talk about the mental aspects of wrestling during the winter, and obviously track and field also, it's just you out there, just kind of like wrestling. You're responsible for your own result. You don't have, unless you're a relay, but if you're in an individual event, you don't have anyone to back you up if you don't have your A day. It's got to be you or no one. So talk about the mentality of runners and what you see out of the athletes and what it takes to be a mentally strong performer on the track.
Well, I mean, it's a tough sport in a sense because there's 17 events for us, and you're gonna have one or two girls in each of those events when it really matters. And 17 events times two, that's a potential of 34 different girls that you're gonna potentially be working with. That's 34 girls, 34 different backgrounds, 34 different personalities, 34 different sets of needs. It's like teaching. Anything that you want people to do better, it starts with the relationship that you have with those individuals. So the first thing that we do is we just get to know our kids. We joke around, we have a good time, and we put them through some of the hardest workouts we possibly can to get the results out of them. Those kids don't do those kinds of things if you don't do the relationship part of it first. So the biggest advantage for the mentality is developing a quality relationship with the kids first. And every kid you have to approach differently. Some kids respond to strict coaching. Some kids respond better to loose coaching. I mean, that's kind of the challenge. I was actually ironically just talking about the relationship aspect with athletes with Coach Birch this morning. And just it's one of those things that it's always evolving because the needs are always going to be changing with the kids. You have to, I mean, at the core levels though, to be good at the sport, you have to have some toughness and some grit. You know what I mean? Like Ohio weather, as you can see, is not the best thing. So no matter what, we take our kids outside unless it's like a natural disaster in terms of weather. We're going to take them out there. We're going to teach them to be tough through that sense, because if you can run in garbage weather, you're going to fly when you get good weather.
What I like too is like you're out there too, so you're not asking them to do anything that you're not doing. It's not like you say go out there and then you staying in the nice warm school, watching out from the windows. Good job.
For the longest time when it was bad weather, I had a Bill Belichick-esque sweatshirt that I would wear for practice. So a sweatshirt with no sleeves. Yeah. So I'm like, if I can do this and I'm not the one competing out here right now, you guys can do this as well. So you're right, though. We're out there in the rain. We're out there in the snow. And we make sure we get the most of it every day.
We can't let episode 1 go without letting you also talk about your coaching staff and the people that work with you to make this track and field program at Boardman great. I want you to get the time to give them a shout out and give them some love on episode 1 as well.
Oh man, we have a big staff, and I say it all the time. After we got home on Saturday from Marlington, just seeing how our kids evolved from our first meet to our second to our third there, I said to the boys head coach, John Phillips, I'm like, we really do have one of the best coaching staffs in the area. And that's not a slant on anybody else. Um, I say it all the time, like the teams in the AAC that we compete against are some of the best coached teams in the entire area. I mean, you got, like I said, Fitch, Harding, Howland, Canfield. I mean, we go against some of the best every single week there. So, but back to our staff. John Phillips, he's my counterpart. He's the boys' head coach. He's done it. He's done it very well for longer than I have here. He's doing a great job with the boys' distance squad. They always do a good job in cross country as well. John DePietro is our hurdles coach. I say it all the time about Johnny. You'd have to go very, very, very far to find a better hurdle coach in this area. I mean, in terms of knowledge of the sport and just one of the coolest dudes you're ever going to meet out there. Like when we always say that when we grow up, we want to be Coach DePietro. So, like I said, we're blessed to have him with us. And let's see, we have Scott Denham. He's from Toledo. He ran at Youngstown State, and he joined our staff just through chance through our throws coach John Polini, who also competed at Youngstown State. The two of them were roommates, and I kind of recruited Scott to us from the YSU program after he hung up coaching for YSU. Darian Williams is our assistant throws coach. He is a Boardman graduate. He was a thrower and a football player here. The kids adore everything about him. And it's just one of those good personalities that everybody gets taken care of with him. We have Luke Godorkis. He is a newer teacher here at Boardman. He's one of my assistants in mid-distance and in sprints. He has a unique personality. Once again, all the kids gravitate to him, especially the middle school kids that he coaches or that he teaches at Glenwood there. We also have Gracie Beal. She's our long jump coach. She's a first-year coach on our staff. She competed for me. She understands the philosophy of the program. She was a jumper at Baldwin Wallace, and I'm really happy to have her with us this year. Brian Yager, he is our high jump coach. He was also a Boardman alum. He competed hard for us through the hurdles and the high jump. Fortunately, he missed his senior year because of the COVID year there. We also have Jason Arnberger. He's a Cleveland transplant on our staff, one of the best mid-distance coaches around that you could find. And then we have Jake Lape. He is also on our staff. He's one of our best. He's one of our 4x8, 4x4 school record holders here at Boardman. He brings a unique perspective and discipline to the sport. We also have volunteer assistant Abby Crawford this year. She is a student teacher here at Boardman. She just wanted to get her feet wet and learn from what we do. And our pole vault coach is Ashley Frazzini. She does some great things with those girls and boys every year over there, and we're blessed to have her as well. Like I said, we have a great staff. I'm very proud of all of them, and they're wonderful people to work with. Not only are they – what's that?
I said that was like a scroll.
Oh, yeah, we have a pretty big staff. I mean, but you're as a head coach, you're only as good as the people around you.
Right.
And I can't do everything out there. So having people that are focused on each of the unique events. I mean, like I said, I'm very blessed to have them. Not only are they knowledgeable of the sport, but they're all just fantastic people. And I know they're all good for kids. And ultimately, at the end of the day, running fast, jumping far, throwing far, all those things are cool. But when these kids turn out to be really good adults and some of them volunteer to come back and help out with the team later on in life, I think we did something really well.
Yeah, and I think Boardman, obviously every coach in every school, every sport, immensely impressed with the coaching that you have across the board, every sport that you guys play, whether it be here in the spring with baseball and softball with Coach Gabriel and Coach Moots, and then you guys in track and field, or it be in the winter with basketball, and just really great coaching in Boardman. So. Coach, we want to thank you so much for kicking off episode 1 and coming on with us like you will every week. That is a great episode 1. I think we've done a lot. We recapped the week. We've previewed the meets that are going to be happening over the next week before we talk again. And stay tuned because we will have interviews on this segment as well. We will bring some of the stars from track and field and the YSN family on to talk to me and Coach during what we're calling Running Wednesdays on Running Point. So thank you so much, Coach, and we will see you back here next week for episode 2.
All right, thank you so much, Anthony. We'll talk to you soon.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Gotta unmute the mic. That is, rule number 1, right? Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, a Wednesday episode brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, so you don't have to. We try to do the same here on this show every single day. And man, did we just have a great segment. I think it went really well with Coach Seipert, and I think it's going to be really exciting all season long to be able to get more and more coaches and more athletes highlighting on that segment across the whole track and field season. Very excited. We are also doing, of course, Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley in track and field. Make sure to go over to ysnlive.com/bigdogs. Get your votes in for your favorite athletes over there in the track and field, as well as softball and baseball. Scotty Mitchell is having a couple of technical issues, so hopefully he'll be able to get on towards the end of the show, maybe. But we are just going to have to truck through without him today, and we are going to go into the scoreboard on ysnlive.com and talk about last night's games. The YSN scoreboard is a great tool for our fans, whether you're at one of the games or watching one of our broadcasts. Either way, you don't want to look away from the screen for too long, and the YSN scoreboard is a great and easy way to get live updated scores on your favorite teams across the YSN family. YSN scoreboard is presented by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs, and they are the reasons why we're able to bring you the scoreboard every day. Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. Here's how the games looked. Orange with a shutout win over Chagrin Falls on the baseball side. 4-0 the final score there. Mohawk gets the walk-off win over Elwood City, 5-4. Jefferson falls in a tight one, 7-6 to Geneva. Edgewood and Lakeside. Let me get this mouse so we can scroll over. Edgewood and Lakeside in an offensive back-and-forth battle. Unlike the game on Monday, where it was a pitcher's duel, this time the bats came alive, and Lakeside was able to come out with the win. 14-12, the final score there in Edgewood. West Branch falls by 1 to Alliance, a tough one for the Warriors. 3-2, your final score there. Beaver Local Baseball also falling to Brook, 5-2. Campbell gets the sweep of Brookfield as they win baseball at home. 9-4 your final score there. Canfield gets another shutout on their stat line as they go 2-0 and beat Howland in the AAC. A big win for the Cardinals there. Cheney gets the road trip to Lisbon, falls 6-1 to the Blue Devils. Crestview pounds champion 13-3, much different than the pitchers duel that we saw on Monday. Ursuline was able to take care of Heartland Christian 14-1. The final score there. That's when pitching and offense are both working so well together when you're able to win like that. Garrettsville Garfield with the 17-7 win over Newton Falls on the baseball side of things. Hubbard, impressive. They are able to sweep South Range with a 7-1 win in Game 2. That one was in Hubbard. And Eagles 2-0 against the Raiders in 2 straight days. Big time series victory for Hubbard going forward in that inning 8. LeBray handles Liberty 7-0, the final score there. Madison beats Conneaut 11-1. We have Middle Ridge. They were able to sweep Jackson Milton with a 6-1 win on the road last night. It's a big series victory for the Rams. Mogador snaps back at Warren JFK and gets the win this time around, 5-3. So those two split the season series, both teams winning their respective road games. Niles is able to also come back on Struthers and get a win after getting really blown out of the water on Monday. They come back and get the 5-4 win this time around. So the Dragons aren't done yet. They split the series with Struthers. Poland, after walking off the Bulldogs of Lakeview on Monday, carry that momentum into Tuesday with a 9-4 victory over Lakeview to sweep them. Springfield all over Sebring, 11-2. Your final score there. Waterloo wins their 3rd game in a row as they beat Lowville 10-0 with a final there. McDonald able to take care of Western Reserve 12-2 in MVAC's Scarlet tier action. Cardinal Mooney and Columbiana getting into one heck of a pitcher's duel, and it was Mooney that came out on top 2-0 in a great, well-pitched game. We thought it would be with those two pitching staffs playing as well as they have been this year. Indian Creek gets the best of East Liverpool 12-2, the final score in that one. We have Carrollton getting beat by Salem 4-2, a nice impressive road win inside the conference for the Quakers. Louisville 5-2 over Massillon, Washington. The Leopards, shocker, they're good at baseball. They've been good for years, and they're good again this year. That's a big win at home against a very good Massillon, Washington Tigers team. Girard goes on the road and beats Maplewood 6-1. Your final score there. Also on the road last night was Beaver Area as they went to Central Valley and got the win this time, 9-6. So the Bobcats force a split of that season series. St. John is able to out-hit Pymatuning Valley 11-6. The final score there in Atwater. In Pymatuning Valley. I'm sorry, I still had Waterloo on my mind. And then Warren Harding and Boardman. Boardman gets the win there, 11-0, the final score. They split the series with the Raiders. Scotty Mincher, I think, is going to be hopping in. Scotty, can you hear us, buddy?
Can you hear me? Are we good?
Scotty, you're good.
Okay. I am so sorry, Anthony. First it was saying the mic was muted, then I was just trying to unmute the mics and it wasn't letting me, and then it was saying there was no mic and asking me if it was plugged in, but I've always just used the mic on here, the built-in mic, so I don't know what the issue was, but
well, you know what? You got it fixed. That's the best things, which means able to come in the midnight hour. And Scotty, it also means that you're able to talk about these softball scores. We just got through baseball, so we're going to go through these softball scores with you here. And we start with Mohawk and Neshannock. We told you yesterday this game was moved to May 7th, so that game did not happen last night. Madison all over Conneaut, 15-0, the final score there. How about the offense in Lakeside and Harvey? Harvey gets the win 16-11, but that's a lot of scoring on the diamond. That's a combined 27 runs scored in that game. Beaver Locals offense traveled with them as they came down to East Palestine, I should say up to East Palestine, and they won 15-5 on the road over the Bulldogs. They cooled off East Palestine that won on Monday. Brookfield, look at this score, 24-9. They were not playing football. They fall to Campbell Memorial. Although they were on the football field, Scotty, they felt a little footballish with that 24 there. That's a big football number.
Yeah, that is a big football number. Over 3 touchdowns.
3 tutties and a field goal. Campbell Memorial gets the big win. Their offense heats up, and they get the split over Brookfield after losing on Monday. Then the game of the night, Scotty, the one that everyone was watching. I was at a different game, and everyone had this up on their game changer because it captivated people. Canfield and Howland got into a heck of a battle. Canfield able to pull it out in extras, 7-6. But this is a game, Scotty, where it would have been devastating for Canfield to drop it because they just beat the monster in the AAC. They beat Austintown Fitch. They pulled tied with them in the conference standings. And if they went into the next series and split with Howland, that would have been just the devastating blow because you would then have to rely on Fitch losing another game in the league to even go even with them. So Canfield really escaped, for lack of a better term, a disaster when it would come to their league championship hosts, as they win 7-6, but it took 8 innings to do it. And game was wild. It was 4-1 Howland after 1 inning of play. Howland jumped Melina Toth for 4 runs in the 4th, which is something that not a lot of teams are able to do. Get on her early. And then Canfield started to slowly come back, 2 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th. It was 5-4 after 4 innings of play. Canfield scored another run in the 5th to tie it, and then 1 more in the top of the 7th to take the lead. It was 6-5 going into the bottom of the 7th. Howland down to their last chance, and their superstar Alyssa Masucci comes up to the plate, hits a solo home run to dead center field, ties up the game at 6, forces extra innings, but then enter Kaylee Ortiz for Canfield, a home run in the top of the 8th to give Canfield the 7-6 lead. Melina Toth shuts the door, and Canfield escapes in extras in Howland, 7-6, with that still top of the conference standing intact. Scotty, that's an awesome game.
Yeah. That just so many good moments and going in the extras and pulling it on in a thriller. Both offenses, showing what they can do. And I just want to know for you, Anthony, on the Canfield side of it now, how much of do you think this win it's something that's gonna have that lasting power, or do you think because it's you talk about softball and having that short memory, do you think it's something to where because it's softball, you just gotta kind of move on quick, or do you think a win like this could give you serious momentum?
Well, you know what? I think it's one of those ones where Canfield gets a little bit of I don't want to say reality check, as if they've been playing lazily or something, because that implies that they've been getting away with things. But it's one of those ones where you go, okay, we have the it's right in front of our faces now that we have to go into every single series locked in, deadlocked in, or there are teams on our schedule, even in our conference, that would gladly beat us. Howland is a very talented team. Even though Canfield has had their number last year and the year before, you look at even Monday night's score, it was a pretty good game. Canfield able to win that game. And then they come into Howland, and the Tigers make it even closer. I think this is just backing up, if Coach Kernan is preaching this, that they have to be absolutely 100% locked into every game they play this year. They can't take games off. They can't take wins for granted. They can't go in expecting just to win. I think that's what they did, and I think Howland kind of jumped them in the first inning, and then all of a sudden they were in a dogfight. It was 4-1. It was 4-1 after one inning. Canfield scores one run in the top of the half, and they probably felt like, okay, you know what? This is just one run. Molina Toth is obviously pitching so well. Our offense is already moving along. We're going to be okay. But then Howland's offense just said, you know what? Not so fast. And they were one of the only teams this year to really tag Molina Toth. And they did really well with that. They put the bat on the ball. And that's what you have to do against Toth. You have to be able to put the ball in play, avoid those strikeouts. And yeah, she's going to get her strikeouts. She got a couple of them. She got a handful. But they did not have one of those, classic Molina Toth games where she gets 15, 16, 17 strikeouts. So they put the ball in play. They let good things happen. They had a couple of power hits that helped them. But Canfield, like a lot of championship teams do, they find ways to win when they're not playing great. So they backed up Molina Toth and said, hey, you're not having your best day. You're not hitting all your spots. It's okay. We have your back. We will go and score against a very good pitcher in her own right, which is Brooke Tater. I think that's what's going to get Howland a little frustrated because they have a really good pitching staff themselves. They were able to get to one of the best in the state, period, and they couldn't match the pitching. Canfield's offense was able to answer everything that Howland did, and I think that's going to be one of the things that Howland goes, come on. It works like that in sports. Sometimes when you get really good offense, that's the one day that your defense doesn't stack up, or it's really frustrating when you can't get them both in sync on the same day against a team like that. But for Howland, Scotty, it's kind of one of those, which way do you take it? Do you take it like we played really, really well, we played a great game? Or do you get frustrated because we were that close to a huge victory for our program and we just could not finish? I think knowing their coaching staff and knowing the way they do things down there, I think this is going to be a momentum boost for Howland. I think they're going to say, hey, we didn't win. We're not going to focus too much on the results. The process and the way we played was phenomenal. We didn't come out on top. It stinks. There are some things we can learn. But, man, I think this is going to be really a lot of positive momentum for Howland despite the loss.
Yeah, you could definitely take it that way. They were right there, so it definitely still stings, but I think it's something. You know, losses are you never want to lose. It's never a good thing, but you can learn valuable lessons in losses, and I think this is something that Howland's gonna take, and I think it's going to make them stronger moving forward.
All right, let's go over the rest of the scores here from last night. Champion, they're doing champion things. They win 17-6 over Crestview. Garrettsville Garfield, very impressive over Newton Falls, 13-2. Hubbard gives South Range a much bigger fight than they did on Monday, but the Raiders still up for the task as they win 4-0. The final score there. Liberty and LeBray. LeBray gets to sweep over the Leopards, who came in with no league losses, and now they come out of that series with a pair of them. LeBray, very impressive over a Liberty team that looked pretty good coming into the week. Jackson Milton is able to split with Mineral Ridge as they get revenge at home, 12-9. The final score there. The Blue Jays get the dub. Struthers able to sweep Niles with a 13-2 win over the Dragons. We have Poland falling to Lakeview. A walk-off by Calista Warner is the one that does the trick. 8-7. Lakeview gets to sweep over Poland. An exciting game in its own right, Scotty. We're talking about this Canfield Howland game. We get a walk-off in Lakeview as well as the Bulldogs of Lakeview sweep the Bulldogs of Poland.
Yeah, it's anytime you can get a walk-off, man, that's more than worth the price of admission. So just thrilling stuff. And they get the sweep there. That's got to be a real confidence booster, and to be able to win like that and come up big in the clutch situations, that only does good for down the line, because baseball is such a game of the ups and downs. But when you're able to come through in the clutch and just have that feeling of, we did it in the crucial moments, it just makes the team that much stronger.
West Branch gets one over on their rivals, 10-0, the final score there. Springfield able to go all over Sebring for the sweep, 19-3. Waterloo gets the win over Lowville, 10-0, the final score there. That was 10-7. Actually, I think that's a typo in our scoreboard. Apologies for that. East Liverpool and Wellsville was not reported. McDonald and Western Reserve. Western Reserve finally breaks through. They had lost the last 4 games played against McDonald. They lost 3 of them last year. They lost the first game of the season this year. But Western Reserve snaps back and gets the win 8-6 on the road as they split with the Blue Devils. And that's a big win for Western Reserve going forward. Hoban in Youngstown gets off to a big start and then holds off the Irish 13-10, the final score there. United gets the win over Maplewood on the road, 9-1, the final score for the Eagles. Jefferson beats Edgewood 12-5. Louisville escapes Uniontown Lake 16-10 in an offensive clash. Fitch uses 6 seventh-inning runs to run away from Riverside 8-1. That was a 2-1 game after 6 innings of play. Ashtabula St. John wins 10-3 over Grand Valley. And last but not least, we have Columbiana beating Girard 13-8. Girard with a little bit of a rally to make that closer, but not nearly enough to come back on Columbiana. So that is your scoreboard of the day for softball and baseball. Scotty, great to have you on, buddy. I think we have time for one quick on what's on your mind if you want one.
Yeah. So just real quick, I just wanted to know from you, Anthony, and it could be a real quick answer. Do you have any concern as far as on the lower levels, like the high school level and youth, about all these? Do you think there's going to be any sort of concern with the injuries you're starting to see from pitchers in baseball, and just the development and how they're taught to throw? Are you concerned at all about any trickle down effect to the lower levels, I guess, is what I'm asking?
I know right now that especially the professional baseball world, that's in a lot of the talks, because obviously a lot of the big name pitchers have gone down. But right now, for the moment at least, even though it's all happening in a cluster, it's still not enough for me to say there's something there, because it has to be a legitimate pattern. Like, it can't just happen on 1 year. It's unfortunate, but if we saw these same injuries last year, maybe the year before, and it's starting to really become a problem consistently, then I'd be a little bit worried. Like, how are these guys in the pros being taken care of? What are they doing? But I think right now, for me, it's just one of those unfortunate years where you see, unfortunately for a lot of teams, it's some big name arms go down. And I think because they're big names, they get a lot more attention too. I mean, we saw in the NFL this year, a lot of the starting quarterbacks got hurt. I don't think that was anything like trending. I think it was just one of those years where it was just bad luck for a lot of the starting quarterbacks. And I think right now, for the moment, I don't see anything like big happening in college baseball where a bunch of guys are getting hurt. Obviously, we've had no major injuries here on the high school level, at least in Northeast Ohio, and the teams on our radar. So I think right now, for me, I'm not overreacting to the amount of arm injuries in professional baseball right now. I think it's just unfortunately one of those years where it's all happening at the same time and it's kind of clustered. But because it's not a legitimate, consistent pattern over years, which is where you really have to take those kind of data points, you have to break them down over years when you talk about how guys are getting injured and why they're getting injured. I think one season or even 1 month, really, because we're a month in the season. 1 month is not nearly enough of a data pool to make any kind of correlation between what's happening in the injuries right now. So I think a lot of people are worried because they're big names, but I think there needs to be a little bit of the pumping of the brakes a little bit. I think it might just be, hey, bad luck because it's happening, all at the same time, but injuries happen. It doesn't always have to be a trend. So I think people need to just pump their brakes a little bit on baseball right now as far as the injuries and trying to find where we are so locked in right now and trying to find reasons or conspiracies and why things are happening, because that's the state of society right now. I think it could just be one of those years. It was one of those years in football too. It wasn't a reason, there wasn't a trend. Probably won't happen again this year. It was just one of those years where I think 13 of the 32 starting quarterbacks were out by the end of the season, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think there's not a huge trend. It's not like it's been happening for years and there's something that's starting to form a pattern. I think it's just a unfortunate year.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of valid things you said there, and I'm hopeful too that it's just one of those years, more of a coincidence thing than something that's should cause alarm or we should start panicking about it. And I do think with it being 1 year, we just gotta kind of just take a deep breath and just think about how any sport, there's always going to be injuries. It's unfortunate, but it's just the nature of the beast. And I think, like in any situation, it could always be worse. And the good news is a lot of these guys now, when they come off these injuries, there are cases where they come back even stronger. So there is that too.
Yep, and especially in the pros, because they have all the resources in the world to get them past these injuries. They usually do come back, if not the same, better. So yeah, I'm not overly concerned right now on that. So, but I appreciate the question for sure, Scotty. That'll do it for today's episode of Running Point. We want to thank 1,000 thanks to Coach Rick Seipert for giving us his time. He will be with us every Wednesday. We'll have his segment of Running Wednesdays with Rick Seipert. Episode 1 is now done. Episode 2 next week. We will continue to have athletes on with us, coaches on with us, whatever it takes to enhance the coverage of track and field. That'll be every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Make sure to tune in next week for that if you were a fan of episode 1. Scotty, we want to thank you for coming on like you do every week. I know you had a couple of technological issues out of your control completely, but we're happy you were able to still get on and join us for a little bit. And we want to thank all you guys for tuning in. We had big numbers today, and I appreciate it. And I want to make sure that you know that this show wouldn't happen without viewers, right? I would be talking to myself if it wasn't for you guys taking the time out of your day to turn Running Point on and maybe have a little bit of lunch with Anthony. So we appreciate you. Running Point, as always, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. They go the extra mile for you. We do the same. For Anthony Hervig, Scotty Mincher, that does it for today's episode of Running Point. Check out the games tonight live on